Victorious, at its core, is a show about a bunch of rich theater kids. And theater kids aren't exactly known for their toughness or their street smarts. So what happens when you take a bunch of prissy performing arts students and dump them stranded in a crime-ridden, sketchy neighborhood? Terror on Cupcake Street. That's what happens. This episode aired all the way back in October of 2011, and over 3 million viewers tuned in to watch the Hollywood arts theater kids being terrorized on the inner city streets. And as someone who's no stranger to a crime-ridden city, I'm excited to rewatch this one and see how the crew handles it. As always, if you guys like this video, please be sure to give us a like and maybe subscribe. And if you have any other episodes or shows you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. Alright, let's dive in. So the episode starts with Andre and Tori with buckets on their heads, which kind of reminds me of the SpongeBob movie where Plankton takes over Bikini Bottom with the Chum Bucket helmets. Psychowitz tells the class this proves it's hard to do a scene with a bucket on your head, then dismisses all the students even though there's 55 minutes left in class. He tells the main characters, you guys gotta stay, but dismisses only the randoms.
Why did you make them leave?
I don't know. They never talk.
Yeah, they just sit there and react.
That's right. They just don't.
This is a pretty funny fourth wall break, acknowledging how only the main cast gets to talk and the background students don't do anything. But also, you could make an argument that this is some grooming going on by Psychowitz. He's playing favorites in class, and it's a little sus. He tells the kids about a parade, and Kat brings up her mythical brother.
My brother was in a parade, but he was inappropriate, so the parade people called the police, and now he's not allowed to be in parades. Or be near horses.
Did he fuck the horse? What did he do? What happened? Jade gives Kat some keys to shut her up and distract her, like an actual toddler, and it's really jarring to see this season 2 Kat after watching earlier episodes where she was ditzy, but still a normal high school girl. People call her post-lobotomy Kat, and that seems pretty accurate to be honest. Psychowitz tells the students he wants them to build a float and be in the parade because they're the most special creative students.
I sort of promised Felicia I'd get some of my most creative students to build a float and perform.
Yep, grooming. But he really wants their help to impress a special lady friend, which is also weird that he wants students' help to impress a woman, but whatever. Jade decides she wants no part of this shit and bounces out of there. The other kids all agree to do it, but it's because Psychowitz says they'll be on national TV. And Kat literally ate and swallowed Jade's house key. What the hell? She literally has the brain functionality of a 2-year-old. What happened here? So all the kids gather at Tori's house to try and think of a good idea for their parade float. And this got me thinking, why is it always at Tori's house? Why are they never all just chilling at, say, Robbie's house? If I was Tori's parents, I'd start to get pretty fucking annoyed. Trina overhears the group say they're gonna be on national TV and asks if she can join in, and they all reject her and say no.
All right, let's put it to a vote. All those?
No!
Quite aggressively, might I add. Jade changes her mind and shows up to help because she wants to be on TV, so she wants to be involved now. And I just realized, where is Beck? He wasn't in the first scene in class, or this one either.
Beck told me you guys were performing on national TV.
How did Beck tell her that if he wasn't there to learn about it in the first place? Also, Jade looks different to me in this episode for some reason. I don't know if it's because her eyebrows look really thin or what, but she just looks like not her normal self. I don't know. Robbie spins a wheel to decide who gets to pick the theme for their parade float, and of course, Dan has to insert a dirty word whenever he possibly can.
And now, I stroke this and the wheel spins randomly until it lands on one of us.
There's literally a button that says spin. He doesn't have to stroke anything. He could have just pressed the damn button. The thing spins for way too goddamn long. It just never stops spinning, which is kind of funny, honestly. Finally, it lands on Kat. Let me tell you, I'm really missing the pre-lobotomy Kat from season 1. She wants to do a giant cupcake. Psychowitz approves, and we cut to them building it, and then it's fully built within seconds. Everything happens so quickly that it's actually pretty jarring. Blink and you'll miss it. God forbid you blink. Also, Beck is randomly just here now. I don't think we were meant to notice that he was missing from the other scenes. I think we're supposed to just act like he was here the whole time. Kat is wearing short shorts and Jade is wearing a short little skirt for a long day of construction and electrical wiring. Hell, their hair is even down. What? Dirty Dan was apparently strictly against ponytails or buns or the girls having their hair up in any way, and he's gross for feeling the need to have the girls dolled up in every scene. But specifically, in a scene like this involving manual labor and electrical engineering, it just isn't even realistic. Upsetting, violating OSHA, disappointing. Beck and Andre are in the cupcake float wearing candy-themed onesie pajamas, and when Psychowitz sees them, he laughs, starts to dance, then the scene just ends? Am I going mad? Cut to later that night. Now everyone is wearing the candy pajamas, and Tori announces the giant cupcake is finally done. Look, between you and me, are we really supposed to believe this group of performing arts students built a giant mechanical structure complete with a working engine in a single day? Come on, what do you think? I'm not buying it. Tori says they need to start heading to the parade now if they want to make it there on time, since the cupcake only goes 4 miles per hour. Even so, that can't be street legal. Imagine being on the road and being stuck behind that damn thing. Also, think about it. There's no turn signals. There's no rear view mirror. The thing isn't even registered. It doesn't have plates. They're breaking so many laws just by taking this thing out on the street. It's a bit ridiculous. And their teacher just lets them do it. He just cheers them on while they're doing it. Trina sneaks into the cupcake even though she wasn't invited. And how did she know about wearing the jammies? That was decided today while they were working on the construction, and she wasn't present for that part. How the hell did she find out? Psychowitz says he can't drive because he has a semi-suspended license, which doesn't matter anyway since driving this thing isn't legal. And Tori just says Beck will drive, and Beck is once again gone from this scene. He must have been busy doing something some days they were filming this episode, but what? So Beck takes off driving, and none of this seems remotely safe. No one even has a seatbelt.
Can it go any faster? Sure, if we were being towed by something that goes faster.
And that's actually not a bad idea at all. Why aren't they doing that? In Survival of the Hottest, they tow Beck's RV all the way to the beach. So why not do that for the cupcake? Surely that would be more efficient and safer than driving this thing 4 miles per hour on the LA streets. Cut to Beck driving them down a sketchy street when suddenly Tori notices a sack on the ground that's moving. So she curb stomps it, and of course, it's Trina. Just then, the cupcake gets a flat tire and they break down. And I gotta say, this is a bit lazy, just a little bit, repeating the same plot from Survival of the Hottest, where Trina invites herself to come along despite not being wanted, and then the group all ends up stuck together with her included. Psychowitz goes to investigate and confirms, yep, it's a flat tire.
Do we have a spare?
We don't even have a trunk.
Okay, but there was plenty of room in that cupcake for a spare tire despite not having a trunk, so I don't get the sass. A group of scary-looking white guys walks towards them and they run for their lives back into the cupcake. Tori tries to call for a tow truck, and for some reason, she gets a woo reaction for doing that.
We have a flat tire. Could you please send a tow truck? Great, thank you so much.
Why? The tow truck company ends up hanging up on her once they hear the sketchy address they have to go to pick up the cupcake. Psychowitz says he'll go to the 24-hour store and buy them a spare tire. Yeah, because they'll definitely have a custom tire used on the cupcake float. He says he'll be back in 30 minutes, but when over an hour goes by and he doesn't come back, Tori decides to call 911. But she has no cell service. The other kids check their phones and nobody has cell service either. Kinda like Survival of the Hottest.
I'm calling her. What's Kat's number?
I already tried.
No signal.
And turns out, someone literally stole the cell phone tower. Is that even possible? How would that even work? Come on. And fun fact, this cop, you know, the white one, is played by Cooper Barnes, who is known for playing Captain Man on Henry Danger. Spanky, spanky, spank, spank. Psychowitz tells the cops his pants were stolen by hooligans, and he has to rescue the children in the giant cupcake. They assume he's a crazy person and arrest him. On what grounds? It's not illegal to be me crazy on the streets. Andre and Beck decide to go look for help, and when Robbie tries to look up directions on his pear pad for which way they should go, Andre crashes out for no reason and throws it out the window. Look, this is the worst friend group. They've all been mean to each other the entire episode for no reason. Jade keeps yelling at Kat and basically threatened to kill her for no reason.
I will pop your head like a zit.
Graphic.
Tori insulted Robbie's masculinity unprompted.
We have 2 guys in this cupcake. I think they should go for help.
2 guys?
You know what I mean.
I really don't.
And now, Andre destroys his friend's personal property unprovoked? iPads are very expensive. Do any of these freaks even like each other at all? Back with Sikowitz, he sneaks out of the cop car when the cops are confronting the guy who stole the cell phone tower. Impressive, I'll admit, but how did the cuffs get to the front when we clearly saw him getting cuffed in the back? That shit's nearly impossible. Back with the teenagers, Beck and Andre run back into the cupcake after getting jumped. But they're completely uninjured and their clothes are just ever so slightly messed up. Andre literally still has his watch on. How do you get jumped and they don't take your goddamn watch or injure you or something? The entire cupcake starts shaking as some thugs start hassling it. Why? What is their goal? Beck sets off the confetti cannon to scare them off, and it actually works. But now I'm kind of bummed that they can't set off the confetti cannon at the real parade. The boys ask, hey, where's Tori? And Kat says, she left to go find you two. Honestly, again, these are awful friends. Jade, Kat, and her own sister Trina all let Tori leave to wander this sketchy neighborhood alone. So Tori's strolling down the darkest alleyway she can find and sees some burly looking men and asks them if they can help her change a tire.
Do you guys know how to change a tire?
Yeah. We know how to change a tire.
We'll change it real good.
Cut to them changing the tire. But how? The original problem wasn't that nobody in the group knew how to change a tire. The problem was that they didn't have a spare tire at all.
Do we have a spare?
We don't even have a trunk.
That's why Sikowitz left to go buy a new one in the first place.
I think there's a 24-hour price go on Spates. I'll jog up there, buy a tire, and be back in 30 minutes.
But he never came back, so they never got a new tire. So this shouldn't be possible, right? How could the writers forget so quickly the lines of dialogue that they just said a mere 10 minutes ago? Ridiculous. The scary men are super impressed when they find out the kids are gonna be in the parade and ask if they can come too. So everyone decides to take off in the cupcake with the strangers, leaving Sikowitz behind as collateral damage to an unknown fate.
Wait! Wait for Daddy!
And that's it. The episode just ends, and you never find out if the kids make it to the parade on time, if Sikowitz gets arrested again, or what happens. Also, I can't help but notice it's being played for laughs how a grown man puts his arm around Jade, touching her without her consent while he's brandishing a heavy metal object, and no doubt making her highly uncomfortable. She's an underage minor, too afraid to reject a grown man's advances as he physically touches her and invades her personal space. Oh my god, so funny, guys. Hate to say it, but this episode was trash. It made the cast look super unlikable. They were all mean to each other and then ultimately ditched their teacher in a highly dangerous area. The whole episode felt weirdly rushed and yet still didn't have time for a proper ending, leaving it on a weird cliffhanger. And it honestly was a sorry excuse for a Halloween episode with its late October premiere date. It wasn't very Halloween-y at all, besides the sketchy neighborhood being scary, I guess. But if you're from a city, that shit's an average Tuesday. I also gotta point out that in I Party with Victorious, Beck says he has never felt true terror before and says he actually can't get scared.
I don't think I've ever felt true terror.
Beck?
Sorry.
He's unscarable.
but he seems pretty scared of the thugs in this episode. He's too scared to tell the guy, "Paul's off my girl" at the end. And what's worse is this episode and I Party with Victorious aired within just a few months of each other. So that's kind of a weird inconsistency. Overall, this isn't the worst episode of Victorious I've ever seen. It had a couple funny moments like the wheel that never stopped spinning, or Psychowitz trying to dismiss the class when there was still 55 minutes left. But it also had a lot of unpleasant moments. Tori comes across as the most likable character since she's the only one not to judge a book by its cover, with her willingness to ask the scary men for help at the end. But even she curb stomps her own sister, insults Robbie, and ditches Psychowitz at the end along with everyone else. So yeah, even the title character and the most likable of the bunch still comes off as a bit of a jerk. But enough of me yapping. What do you guys think of Terror on Cupcake Street? Did you like this one back in the day, or did you think it was pure trash? Let me know how you're feeling in the comments, and let's kick it. And as always, I gotta give a massive, juicy, sloppy shout out to the Patreon and channel members. You guys get me slimy. You guys get me wet. You better be careful, or mama's gonna be upset. Wasn't really a poem, more so just a rant. I don't know. If you're still here, perhaps you should adopt a new pet this week. It could be anything: a fish, a bird, a dog, a snake. Just adopt something. Or check out one of my other videos. You might have a good time. All right, thanks for listening.